What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Tap In. And today I have a special guest, a new friend of mine, Jay the Plug. He's a fantasy football guy. I am not a huge fantasy football guy, but I got some questions because I'm curious, and to be honest, I want to win a championship this year in my fantasy football league. So because of that, I had to have Jay on. Jay, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for having me, buddy. Thanks so much. I know you're not a big fantasy guy, but that's okay. We're going to get you converted, buddy. And yeah, as far as championships go, I don't know if you see, but 1, 2, and I got my belt right over there provided by Trophy Smack. So
yeah.
Got your back, bud.
Yeah, no. I play. I've been in a couple leagues. I'm in a smaller league with some of my family. Actually, I just did an episode live. We're recording this on Sunday. This might come out Monday or Tuesday. But I did an episode live with my cousin who's in that fantasy league. It's like a 6-man league. It's a small league, so it's really competitive because it's 6-man.
Wow.
Yeah. And I won that league, but like, am I really a good fantasy player if I win a 6-man league? It's a championship, but
well, that's a really good question, man. But because you could get some pretty amazing players in a 6-man. I mean, there's not a team that's not completely stacked.
Yeah.
But you got to think about it that way. If you won a championship there against other teams that are completely stacked, just like yours are. I mean, you obviously have some skills in it. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-player league. You still won that championship, man. That's what counts.
Hey, that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, it's the same thing as if you do a 14-team leag or whatever, man. I mean, you're going to have the same. It's all the draft and how you do your how you do all the waiver wires and all that stuff throughout the year. So I mean, yeah, you got some skills, my man.
Yeah. And one of the players that I think about honestly drafting this upcoming season, other than the fact that I don't know where he's going to play, is Deebo Samuel. And I'm curious to see what you think. Where do you think Deebo Samuel actually ends up playing this upcoming NFL season?
Man, if I'm honest, I'm thinking he ends up staying in San Francisco. He's asking for a trade, but that doesn't mean they have to trade him. But, playing devil's advocate, I mean, if you wanted to, if he did go anywhere, I think that he'd end up going to Green Bay. I think Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers basically pulling all the strings and running the ship, he would do whatever he needed to do to get himself a top wide receiver because, Adams shipped off to Las Vegas. So if he leaves San Francisco, I think he'll end up going to Green Bay. I think they have the best opportunity. Granted, that with all the money that they paid Rodgers, might be kind of tough, but I think he would be really good in Green Bay because they have a good running game there as well, and he does not want to be a hybrid, which he said. Which, I mean, whatever, man, just play ball, be a Percy Harvin type man.
Exactly. If it's gonna make you money, like you want to get the money now. I understand it completely, and I personally think he's gonna end up. I don't think he's gonna be anywhere else. I think he's gonna end up right back in San Francisco because this is more or less just kind of a leverage move with him because he thinks he has all the power right now.
Yeah.
I think he named himself a wide back, realized he wasn't going to get paid like a top-level wide receiver, and now has pretty much retracted those statements via his agent and stuff like that. It's all a negotiating move. He's trying to get as much money as he can right now. I respect it because personally I'd probably do the same thing if I were him. But I think he's going to end up right back in San Francisco. But you mentioned another receiver that got moved this offseason, Davante Adams. Mm-hmm. And another receiver that also got moved is Tyreek Hill. They're both on new teams with new quarterbacks. Who do you trust more this upcoming season in fantasy, Davante Adams or Tyreek Hill?
It's a fantastic question, man. Davante Adams. Reason being, I mean, main thing is, and forgive me, I made notes on this because you got very good questions here. I just want to make sure I do this correctly and respect your flow. I trust Carr more than I trust Tua, which a lot of people out there watching this are probably thinking I'm insane, but Carr loves to throw the deep ball, and he loves his route runners. Look at the way that Renfro played. Look at how Darren, my guy. Oh, sorry.
Hey, Darren.
My guy, Darren, man. The way that they play, the way that they catch, the way that they run their routes, Carr can put the ball right where it needs to be. The main thing I like about him, too, is the deep ball. Tua does not throw a deep ball anymore. At least it seems. I mean, that just seems to be the consensus, but I like Derek Carr. I like the fact that you have so many different ways to get the ball down the field that you're not going to really be able to double team anybody. And Davante Adams, even when he's double teamed, he can still get open, get the ball, get you some touchdowns, get a ton of yards. And Derek Carr loves Adams. They played together in college, even though it was a long time ago. I just think that they've got a lot more rapport. I think it's a better team. I think it's a better situation.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I do think it's Adams as well because, again, like Derek Carr has never really had a top tier wide receiver. He's had top tier pass catchers. Like
Right.
Darren Waller is a top tier pass catcher in the league, but he's not necessarily a wide receiver on the outside.
No.
Hunter Renfrow is a slot guy. He's great, but is he? I don't think he's going to be at the level that Davante Adams is. And you add him into that offense with Renfrow and Waller. I think even though they are in a very tough division, I think that points wise, I think you'll see probably if maybe a PPR league, you might agree on this. Hill's going to probably get more touches. You think?
That's a good. I mean, that's you make a good point there. That's PPR league. That's the only thing I ever play is PPR.
Yeah.
If you're not playing PPR, I need to get your life. But so, like,
I agree.
With Hill, I would still go Adams because I still think Adams overall, even in a PPR league, would finish with higher point totals. Catch wise, it's tough to say because Waddle was I believe it was top 5 in receivers. Top 5? We could just say top 10. He was top 10 in receiving, in receptions, last season. Tua's got his guy there now, obviously. You got Mike Gesicki there, who's a great receiving tight end. He slowed down a little bit, and then, different parts of the season he'll pick up. I think Hill will start off with a bang. I think it'll be kind of the same as whenever he was with Kansas City. I think he'll have a couple huge games, a couple dinks here and there, and he'll end up finishing pretty high, but I still would go with Adams. But in the PPR league, yeah, if you're looking for receptions, I think you're right. I think Hill will end up doing a little bit better than Adams because Carr spreads the ball around a lot.
Yeah. And like you mentioned a few tight ends in there. You mentioned Gesicki. Earlier you mentioned Waller, your guy, Darren Waller. And Darren Waller is a top-name tight end in the league, just like George Kittle, just like Travis Kelce, just like Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
I'm curious because this has been a struggle for me in fantasy. My pretty much anytime I've ever played fantasy football, I suck at drafting tight ends. So this is a more or less personal question for me, but I had to put it on the show because, it has to be content. So after the big name tight ends go in fantasy, who should players target in the draft outside of like Andrews and the top names?
Sure. I've got one that's fairly obvious. But he's fallen quite a bit just because, and I say quite a bit. He's number 5, I'm sure, in most. Hell, some people have him ahead of Waller, which is absolutely insane. But Pitts,
Wait, people have Pitts ahead of Waller?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's ridiculous, and it's not like the main. What's that guy? The counselor or whatever he calls him, the Conchiefs, or it's not. It's not them. It's like guys who.
Oh, man.
Do like a deep dive, which I don't understand. But Pitts has Mariota. Most people think that Mariota is ridiculous, but Delaney Walker made a name with Mariota. Mariota loves to hit slants. He loves to hit a lot of like button hooks and but what's the word, like over the shoulder fades when with his tight ends, because he likes big targets. If you look back, Mariota made Delaney Walker the receiver, or like the main target for the Titans. I mean, I don't see anything really changing at the game. And whenever he went in for the Raiders, Waller ate. So I really think that Kyle Pitts is going to definitely eat because of this. I think he's definitely going to get his share. And you don't really have anything else in Atlanta.
It's true.
They
have no weapons.
Right, none. I mean, you got Cordero Patterson, which he's a free. I love that they found a way to use him. I love it because I've been saying for years that this guy is something special, and they finally started to use him the way that he needed to be. But that's it. I mean, if they decide to draft a receiver, great, but it's still going to be a rookie receiver coming in. I still think Pitts is going to definitely benefit from Mariota being there. Another guy right after him, I wouldn't fault you for going after Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox eats with Josh Allen. Josh Allen loves Dawson Knox. He loves throwing to receivers now, even though that he's a hell of a running quarterback. But Dawson Knox is definitely somebody to look at. I think T.J. Hawkinson is going to do well as well. Also, I think Jared Goff is going to pick up and get a lot better in that offense. But I digress. It's going to be Kyle Pitts is definitely a guy to go after the big four.
Got it. I'm gonna write that down here right after the show. That's getting wrote down. Lot, yeah, I'm putting that right in the notes because I got a section in my iPhone in my notes. Fantasy football 2022, and I haven't added any notes into it yet because it's not really that time for me yet. But the first note that'll get thrown in there is tight ends. I'm gonna put Kyle Pitts in all caps.
There you go.
Yeah, but one of the most important positions in fantasy is, in some people's eyes, running back. And I'm curious because you are a fantasy guy. You love fantasy football. Who are your top 5 running backs for this upcoming fantasy season?
I've got them right here on my phone, and they are so interchangeable. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Like I'm the kind of person to where if you wanted to, I can make an argument for damn near anybody.
Yeah.
So if I just did a shameless plug, so to speak. I just did this plug his neighborhood, and I just said that Christian McCaffrey, if he is healthy, is completely understood. Like if you want your guy, go after him. Always draft your guys because fantasy football is made to be fun first.
Yep.
And it is 100% luck. You can call me crazy, Sam, an idiot. Everybody loves no, I did all this. I'm good at it. Look, you drafted well, you pay attention. You got the guy on the waiver wire faster. Okay, you're fast. You're good at paying attention. That's cool. That's great because there are people who are more lucky than others. I am very lucky in fantasy football. That's what I'm saying. But number 1, Derrick Henry. And I know I say I'm a big PPR fan, but I mean the thing is with Derrick Henry, played 8 games last season, had 1,091 yards from scrimmage on 237 touches in 8 games.
That's so many touches in 8 games.
Dude, the guy is he's a monster. He's the workhorse. They call him the king for a reason.
Yep.
He is the running back to own or roster. Don't want to get canceled for God's sake. Like to roster on a team for sure. He's the number 1 overall pick, no question. Period. Like over everybody. Whether you want to, whether Cooper Kupp or any of these guys, no, Derrick Henry's the guy. Number 2, which I've gotten a lot of crap for, but friend of the show, good buddy, Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler in a PPR
not Jonathan
league.
Taylor.
No, it's 2A, 2B.
I agree.
You could. I can't fault. Look again. I cannot fault you if you pick Jonathan Taylor number 1 overall. I can't fault you if you do Austin Eckler number 1 overall. I'm not going to fault you if you go Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon. I can make an argument for every single one of them. That's the thing. You can make an argument for everything just by stats. If you want somebody to look great, you can just the great Matthew Berry he does a thing with his show where he'll have 2 players. One guy, he'll like say it's, he won't say the name, but he'll say their stats and it's Drew Brees. And another guy, he won't say their stats, but it's like Phillip Rivers. And people will be like, oh, I definitely want choice B. And it's Phillip Rivers. You can make anybody sound terrible and anybody sound amazing. But Austin Eckler, 2,171 yards from scrimmage. And I always say from scrimmage because I love receiving yards. 372 touches, only running back to hit 20 touchdowns total.
I had him in fantasy last year. He was a
smart man.
Yeah.
Smart fella, buddy. Let me see. Let me see. You know what? Forgive me. I read it. He's had 20 touchdowns, 276 touches, 1,558 yards from scrimmage. Forgive me. Jonathan Taylor is number 3. That's the guy who I just read his stats. 372 touches, 2,171 yards from scrimmage. One thing that kind of you could put Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler together, but Jonathan Taylor might take a little bit of an edge. Justin Herbert is an amazing quarterback, but Matt Ryan loves dink and dunk passes to his running backs. He's shown it. He's shown it. And the tight ends and stuff, he's just always been that way. He'll spread the ball. Number 4 is Najee Harris, strictly because of workload. I know you got Mitch Trubisky there, so that could knock him down a peg.
Hey.
I know, I saw that, man. When I saw that, I almost went and got my Jerome Bettis jersey and put it up instead. But yeah, Najee Harris is a hell of a running back. He is obviously skilled, and he can take the workload. And he's a great ball catcher out of the backfield. He can cut with the best of them, and he runs hard. I love the way he runs. I love his running style. Number 5. This is tough because I've been a Saints fan since I was a kid, and I love Alvin Kamara. But Alvin Kamara he's far down my list right now because who knows what's going to happen with the game suspensions if he gets any. Christian McCaffrey is on my list, but he's right outside the top 5. If he stays healthy, he could jump up to number 1. My number 5 is Joe Mixon.
Yep. Okay.
A lot of people probably, and I keep saying this, but a lot of people might look at this and be like, "That's insane. Why?" I don't understand.
Cincinnati's O-line is massively improved.
Correct. And I think that's what they're going to do whenever it comes to the draft. I think they're going to continue to bulk that up. I also think that I don't think that they're going to be going after any running backs or anything like that. I think they're just basically going to work on their defense and offensive line.
Yep.
That's all they need to do. Their offense is unbelievably stacked. And I just think Joe Mixon is definitely worth the top 5 in running backs. Now, one honorable mention is Javonte Williams with the Broncos.
Okay.
If Melvin Gordon leaves, Javonte Williams jumps into my top 5. He'd probably be in my top 3, honestly.
There was a lot of hype around him coming into last year too, wasn't there?
Yeah,
from what I remember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They figured he was going to be the number 1, but what they did is they put him behind Melvin Gordon, which was very smart because if you look at the guys that played with Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, they did very well as a second back to Melvin Gordon, and they learned. And he's a great running back. I love Melvin Gordon, man. Everybody always hates on him but he always gets it done, always.
Exactly.
The hate has gone too far. It's just like Mixon. It's gone way too far.
Yes.
Like for some reason, I'm like, if I see him just sitting there, I'm like, I'm grabbing him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I'm putting him in my starting lineup, and I'm setting it, forgetting it.
Yeah. So, I think where part of the hate comes from with like Mixon and like Gordon is because for a few years those guys were like so heavily like ranked preseason wise coming into like rankings and fantasy, and like they just seemed to disappoint, and people took that personally.
Yeah.
Which is like. That's a whole nother conversation because like the toxicity towards athletes in today's social media age is very interesting. And some of it does actually stem from fantasy football. You're not a guy that because you're a guy that cares about the athletes you love. You're doing it for fun. You're not doing it because, you have some void you're trying to fill. You just enjoy fantasy, but
100%, man. That's a great way to put it. If there was a void, it definitely filled it, but I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah. But like when you're talking about the running backs, you're listening through it and like you had Derrick Henry 1 and like Christian McCaffrey was kind of just outside of your top 5. And it's like when you look at the running back position, it's so versatile and like all those running backs are so different because Eckler's like huge pass catcher. Not really like when you think of his rushing yard total, it's not like a super high number. Jonathan Taylor, like a great rusher. You don't necessarily always see Jonathan Taylor getting involved in the passing game, though. Like the running back position is harder to evaluate, especially for fantasy people now, because like the PPR stuff, like how many receptions are they going to get? Are they even using the passing game? It's become very interesting, in my opinion. But you mentioned Joe Mixon. He's on the Bengals. The Bengals had a stud wide receiver this past season in Jamar Chase. He was a rookie, and it was his first year in the league. I'm just curious, do you think his production is going to continue into year 2 in this upcoming season?
Jamar Chase is going to hit the Triple Crown. I'm telling you, it's going to get. And I'm sorry, I know you're wearing a Steelers shirt. I know
it's a tough time. It's a tough time to be a Steelers fan. It's a tough time to be a Steelers fan.
It's okay. My grandfather, that was his team, man. That was his team. Y'all are due. You're gonna get your quarterback eventually. Yeah. It's going to continue and it's only going to get better. I was telling everybody last season, I was like, look, the whole he's dropping the football and stuff, that's just, I'm sorry. It's just, come on.
He didn't really play with Joe in the preseason, to be honest with you.
Right. And then he was out. Wasn't he out? No, was that Jefferson? He was out a full year before he got drafted.
That was Chase. That was Chase. He was out a full year. Chase. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird too, because when I first heard it, I'm like, well, I can kind of see that, but I mean, the college ball is thicker, is like a more round football than the Duke, and the Duke is a longer football, but easier. I can see that somebody can make an argument that it's harder to catch, but I knew that was just nonsense. I knew he was going to end up balling out, but he's just going to do nothing but get better. He's going to hit that Triple Crown. He's probably going to be the highest receiving, highest touchdowns, and most receptions. That's the Triple Crown, I believe, is what it is. I think he can hit that Triple Crown, really, because I mean, everything that he's said has come to fruition. Him and Waddle. Waddle was incredible, but now with Hill there's not really a whole discussion for Waddle. So pay attention to where he goes in drafts as well, man. He's the LSU boys, man. Yeah, go Tigers, baby. Go Tigers.
Yeah. No, and I actually, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I only asked this question because I have Jamar Chase ranked as wide receiver number 1.
Ooh.
It's definitely a little bit of a hot take, but he was for my board next year. I was looking a little bit ahead because someone asked me if I want to do some content where I come in and we do after the draft, we do some kind of mock fantasy draft. And I was like, I'd be down to do that. And I was kind of making a little bit of a board. And I was like, Jamar Chase is my number 1 wide receiver.
Well done. Well done, buddy.
Yeah.
Well done, man.
That's what I do, but it's
I could totally see. I mean, it's a hot take because guys like Kupp and Samuel, they exist still.
Yeah.
But it is 100% possible, man. That's y'all heard it here first. My guy Jerry, he said that Chase is going to be number one receiver. He said it, not me. I would love to take credit for that, but he's the one who said it first, because that's definitely a great call, man. It really is.
Trust me, when this is over, I am clipping that up and saving it just in case it does come to fruition, so that I can put it out there so people know. But you said earlier you're a Saints fan.
Oh yeah,
and they got some interesting things off the field with Alvin Kamara that they're going to have to get figured out. But they have 2 first-round picks in this upcoming draft. Mm-hmm. They recently traded to get one with the Eagles. What do you think they do with their 2 first-round picks?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm hoping. One of the guys that I was really blessed to be able to interview recently was Tano Passignon. He's the one of the defensive ends for the Saints. And as I was talking to him, I tried to get an idea of what they're thinking of in the draft. And their defense is already strong.
Yes.
Their defense is strong. Their offensive line, now that Armstead is gone, they moved some pieces around. They might focus on offensive line, but there's so many strong offensive linemen that they can wait.
Yep.
I'm hoping that with the 16th and 19th, if they keep it, because now I'm hearing that when I was talking to, and I've got a friend who works there too. He works in IT.
Okay.
Which I'm like, oh, dope, man. Maybe he can help me out with emails and stuff. Like you can see. No, not like that. But the Steelers and the Saints have been in big talks with a package that they might surprise everybody with.
I've heard that as well.
And I'm like, God, the Saints are very big on giving away the farm for what they want.
Yep.
It wasn't just, it was, they're willing to give up everything for something. And to me, I'm like, who is worth that in this draft? It's normally an offensive player, like a Ricky Williams or something like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm hoping, and forgive me, I'm making sure that I think they're going to go wide receiver. And it's either going to be the kid out of Ohio State or Williams out of Alabama.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Mike Thomas has been – what's the kid's name out of Ohio State? I've got it.
Probably Olave. It's probably who you have.
Wilson.
You have Garrett Wilson. Okay.
Yeah, Wilson, and he's been fighting for Wilson for them to take a real good look at Wilson.
Wilson's a speedster.
the kid's a monster.
Yeah.
And Williams out of Bama. But the thing is with Williams, he's coming off of an injury, and everybody gets nervous about injury and stuff. He might not be anything. I hate the term injury prone.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It's ridiculous that athletes do get kind of tagged as injury prone because the way the sport is today, it's like they're moving so much faster than they did at any point in the history of football.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are freak injuries that if you're moving that fast are bound to happen.
Yeah, and it's crazy. But they get. I mean, look at Cam Akers. He came back faster than anybody in history.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the stuff that they have going on now, man. I mean, they've got stem cell stuff that they started working on and all this different thing. Like it's crazy. They can come back, and they showed Williams. Like Williams is running like a freak show. So I didn't had any idea that he'd be able to play like this already. But Williams or Wilson, and if he's available, Pickett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
I'm a Pickett guy.
You should be. I mean, most people should be. He's. What's funny is like if you look at before the draft days, before the or pro days, excuse me, nobody really was crazy excited about anybody, but they tried building a story around all these guys like Malik Willis, who had a hell of a pro day, I guess. Like he's just a cannon. But people are afraid of him because they think he's going to be. They're going to set him back a peg or two in the NFL because he runs so much. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, they said the same thing about Lamar Jackson, and come on, it's just stupid. They're trying to make a narrative, or a bigger story about it. They're trying to make it more of a drama.
Yeah, they're strictly doing it to make draft night more entertaining.
Correct.
It's what they do. It's what the media does.
Right, and these guys are elite athletes. People who make it to the NFL, pro athlete anywhere. I mean, they are a step above, 20 steps above most athletes. Like it's extremely rare. So I mean, give these kids their due and quit talking a whole bunch of crap and trying to make things like, oh, I can't believe this guy's going. I mean, of course, really, you can't believe it? What are you doing? You're watching it. Yeah. Anyway, I can go on for days about that. Just like we were talking about people who hate on these players and stuff because they get hurt. I mean, give me a break, man.
Yeah,
They don't owe you anything. Anyway, okay. So, but I'm thinking receiver and then hopefully a quarterback. I'm hoping that they go receiver and quarterback. That's what I'm hoping for.
I think that would be smart. I don't know if you guys have a shot at Pickett, and I don't want to throw my source under the bus, but I found out some information.
Is that right?
I found out some information.
You can't drop a little gem like that and not elaborate.
Yep, I did some digging. I did my due diligence. I heard from a very credible source that I don't want to put it out there because I don't want people to be like, oh, he's talking to, credible source. There's a very small likelihood that Pickett falls past 6.
Really?
6 is where the Carolina Panthers select. So.
You don't think they're going to go after Willis?
No.
He's the closest thing to Cam Newton they have.
No. It is the closest thing to Cam Newton, but I think they want to go a different direction. And from the source that I talked to, who's fairly close to the situation, I'll just say that. Fairly close to the situation. Huh?
Tell me off camera.
I will tell you off camera. But he's fairly close to the situation. And this individual told me he thinks that Pickett will be going 6th if he doesn't go earlier than that.
Damn.
But if he falls past 6, this is what the source told me. He might see a Aaron Rodgers type slide.
Wow.
Yep.
I love it.
I'm not gonna say right now who it was, but it was just a source. But we'll move. It's tough to move on from that, but I have a couple more questions for you. We will move on from it. I will tell you off camera. I think you will probably be pretty interested in who I heard it from. But
I am 100%. I promise. I'm like a vault, buddy. I won't say anything to anybody.
Hey, I appreciate that. But the Saints, you want the Saints to go quarterback. And the Saints right now have recently, the question I'm about to ask. The Saints recently re-signed Jameis Winston, who last year looked like he could be a guy. But is it possible that he could be the franchise guy for the Saints, or is he just a stopgap guy?
Stopgap. I hate saying it, man. I hate to say it. I just the way that I feel even if he could absolutely, because he's got the skill. He's got the skill to lead a team to the playoffs. He's got, he's talented enough. But even if he is the guy, or he could be the guy, I think the Saints are always looking elsewhere. And I think they will be forever. And I hate it, man. Unless somebody comes in and just blows the roof off. I don't see. Drew Brees left a huge hole, and I don't know, man. It's going to be really tough. The reason why I like Pickett is because he's a good quarterback. He can move. He's got feet under him. I love Willis too. I love a running quarterback, and I know that's a lot of it has to do with fantasy stuff, but Winston's not mobile anymore. He makes better decisions.
Yep.
He's not the Winston of old. He's not the 30 for 30. God, he's just not. I don't think he's the guy. I just don't. I hate to say it because out of everybody, I wanted him to be.
Yep.
Out of him and Hill pissed me off. Hill's just, anytime he came into the game, it was obvious what he was doing, but the dude is so athletic. I love that they're putting him at tight end. I love that they're putting him at the tight end position. Love it. There's a little fantasy take for you right there.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe take some
crap, dude. Yeah, there you go. I almost have to rewind this and be like, hey. But Winston is a great quarterback. He has a lot of support from the locker room, from what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. He's very passionate, as you saw the way that he went off with Callaway.
Yep.
Last season, whenever they got in that big argument, but he's also a guy that they respect enough to where they'll kind of go off on each other, but he'll also own up to it. Like you saw the way that it showed the whole thing on tape. Like he went off on him and then he realized he reeled it back and he was like, you know what, my bad. I see what you're talking about. People love the guy.
Yep.
I don't see him as the guy in New Orleans. I just don't. I hate to say it, but I think we need to. I'm okay with not going after a quarterback this season or reaching for one.
Yep.
Maybe there's somebody that pops up next season that ends up being the guy, like the new Andrew Luck or whatever that just ends up being the savior.
Yep.
But no, I hate to say it, but I just don't see Winston being the guy. It breaks my heart to say, but I just don't.
Yeah, I personally don't either, and I love Jameis Winston. He's one of the, in my opinion, like, you're watching football, he makes the game supremely entertaining.
Yeah, he's the man.
And I think, I don't know if he doesn't become the guy in New Orleans, like, does he get a shot somewhere else? You think, or does he become a career backup at that point?
No. I'm sure he gets. I mean, he's talented enough to be a starter. For the time being. I mean, he is. I mean, it's tough, man. It's really tough because Jameis Winston is a living conundrum to me. Like, you can't, it's really, you want the guy to succeed so bad.
Yep.
And he will play, like, if you look at Sean Payton is not there anymore. That's one of the main reasons why I'm like, okay, this guy is probably not going to be the guy. I mean, we got a defensive-minded head coach, which is great. Our defense is killer.
Yeah.
And that's whenever the Saints won one of these here is whenever their defense was probably probably one of the top in the NFL. But you need to have a leader under center. Jameis can bring a locker room together, but he doesn't lead like Drew Brees. You don't trust him. People don't trust him. No. He did a hell of a lot better this past season. He had 4 interceptions?
Yeah, it was a lower amount. Low. It was a lower amount. He was playing really well before he pretty much blew his leg apart. But
yeah. And he's working hard, man. His workouts are unorthodox.
Unique.
Yeah, unique. That's a great way. Very unique, but he's working hard, and I think he could definitely. He's a playoff QB. I think he could get us to the playoffs. I don't think we're going to get any further, and I think it also has to do with the fact that they bring in more teams now to the playoffs, and we have an extra week. So, if it was good old days NFL, no, but I just don't think he's the guy.
Well, if he's not the guy. There's quarterbacks in this draft. There's going to be quarterbacks in every draft pretty much in history because that's how it goes. But in this upcoming draft, what quarterback gets picked first? And based on my information that I mentioned earlier, you know my answer. My answer is Kenny Pickett.
I agree. I think Pickett will be first. I wrote down a couple of things here that, he was third in voting for the Heisman, which that's no small feat.
No.
With the guys that you had this year. Let me see the story, like the way he clawed his way to where he's at. Like, that's just an awesome story. And everybody, the NFL loves a good dramatic story. And when you like Joe Burrow is like the NFL's wet dream. Pickett is going to be that same guy. I really do believe so, man. He invented the fake slide, dude. Like, who does? That's dope. That's like Michael Jackson inventing the moonwalk. That's just the dopest thing you could see. When I first saw that, I'm like, oh, he's like, oh, and I remember watching that play over and over and over, and it had the holy crap moment. Yeah. And because of that, they changed the rule in
fast too. They changed that rule fast.
So fast. And I think that's that's crap. Excuse me. I think that's if you're gonna change a rule, because not every guy can do that, dude. No, man. And when he did it, holy, I was like, when I saw that play, I was like, no way. Yeah. Did that really just happen? That's like a Madden glitch. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, man, this guy is something else. He's special.
Yeah. To have the confidence to do that too. Like,
oh yeah, man, he was about to get just lit up.
Yeah,
he just popped back up. I was like, oh my god, this dude he's legit. Yeah, and I think because of that, I think teams are going to see that, and I think it's going to get them a lot of. I hate to say it, even if there's like Willis, who killed his pro day, who just off of a pro day. Yeah, that dude should be first. He's not going to be. Yeah, in my opinion. Very well could be, but in my opinion, he's not going to be, because one, you just gave me a little bit of an insight. Two, these owners want money, and Pickett is going to bring money to whatever franchise he goes to, just because everybody is going to buy that jersey. Everybody's going to support the hell out of him because of. Look at like the college football tried to make it a little bit harder on him. Yep, you've got skill enough to pull off a move that most people can't, and then they take it away from you. Yeah. People are waiting to see that move in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, the NFL players won't. They will lay him out if he tries that move.
Oh my god.
They'll take his head off.
Yeah, you better start hurdling people like Josh Allen, dude. Yeah. You're not going under.
No, you're getting your head obliterated if you try that. In the NFL.
Yeah. What I'm wondering is if he ever does it. I wonder if he tries it. I bet you he tries.
I don't know if he's going to try it or not.
Yeah, coach might be like, "Did you even try that, man? You're coming out for a while."
Yeah, because as a franchise guy, that's probably a move you probably shouldn't try in the NFL.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Because imagine if he tries that move on Ramsey. Ramsey has watched the film. Ramsey's watched the film. Ramsey would lay him out.
He will fold him like a chair.
Yeah. But Jay, hey, it was awesome. Stick around because I got some information to tell you. But it was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been one of my funnest episodes yet.
Oh man, this is a blast. Thanks so much for having me, buddy. Yeah. Anytime, I'm happy to be. I'm at your disposal, buddy. And I can't wait to have you on the show with me so we can let some more people know a little bit more about you, man. Your show's a hell of a show, buddy. I appreciate it. Great questions, great host. A1.
Hey, I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. That means so much to me. You don't even know. I really do appreciate it. And this will probably be coming out Monday or Tuesday. But I appreciate you guys. I got a couple of other episodes this week. Hope you guys have a good week.